Welcome. I'm going to talk about the seed number selection 12249 in KP Horary. And my focus is going to be on the random selection versus non-random selection. I will show you how the method of getting a number from 1 to 249 makes all the difference in KP Horary. I'm talking about the way or the method. I'm not talking about the numbers itself. In mostly in the online KP classes, you will seldom find any discussion on this very important aspect of KP Horary. And the reason is that many instructors, they are actually clueless about it. Now, the preferred method of getting a number is to ask the questionnaire to think of a number from 1 to 249. This is the usual practice that asks the client or the questionnaire to think of a number from 1 to 249. Yet, this method can be misused by a client to distort the outcome and lead to the wrong predictions. See, the moment you ask the client or the questionnaire to think of a number, then you are making it a non-random kind of a number. And let me demonstrate you with some examples how uh, a client with some handle on the KP Astrology can fool you to predict whatever he or she wants you to predict. You must have some elementary handle on the computational part of the horary cusp, which is actually very simple and basic, but is overlooked in online KP classes. As like I mentioned, the instructor themselves have no idea. So let me explain you. This is a very proven KP Horary rule about any query. The negative outcome has to be predictive when both the 11th Cuspal Sub Lord and its Star Lord are retrograde in a horary chart. We are talking only about the horary chart. A person's accomplishment of desire will not happen if the 11th Cuspal Sub Lord and its Star Lord both are retrograde in a horary chart. This is a KP yoga, I would say, for the horary rule. Now let me show you how I can use the thought of number. If I am given a choice of selecting my own number, then I will show you how months after months for a very long time you can come up with various numbers that will always give the result as a negative, and the astrologer will not have any clue that why this is happening. So let me show you. So we are going to focus on this rule: 11th Cuspal Sub Lord and its Star Lord. Both should be retrograde. So basically, we have to find a planet which is retrograde and it's also deposited in the star of another retrograde planet or its own retrograde star. So for that, let's go to the ephemeris section and find a time span. You can find this kind of time span throughout the year. Planet, they become retrograde, they tend to get deposited in the star of another retrograde. So let's go to the ephemeris section. The ephemeris section, you can navigate to the ephemeris section from this option. So let's navigate to August. This is going to give you the planetary position for the whole month of August 2025. Now, if you look at the Saturn, you see the Saturn is retrograde. Saturn column, you will find that Saturn is retrograde and it's going to remain retrograde, or it was retrograde for quite a long period of time. That's what the Saturn retrograde movement usually does. Another important thing you will notice is that Saturn is in the star of Saturn. So we are able to find a period where the planet is retrograde, that is Saturn, and it is in its own star. So that fulfills the Krishnamurti's rule about the a planet which is retrograde and deposited in the star Lord, that is also retrograde. So now all we have to do is to find a number where the 11th Cuspal Sub Lord becomes Saturn. So let's generate a horary chart. Now as a client, I'm going to give a horary number 168. You can come up various other numbers once you get a hang of it, that how the result can be manipulated. If you allow the client for a thought of number, or a client deliberately chooses a number. So as a client, I have deliberately chosen this number, and I'm just giving you a retrospect example of some date in August. But you will understand how this whole manipulation works. Any date is fine because we have seen that Saturn is retrograde. And this is the astrologer's place. So we'll just leave it untouched because we are in Bhopal, let's assume, and the astrologer is also in Bhopal. And we have given this number. Query could be anything: marriage, job, cricket match, or going abroad, anything. And our intention, or I would say as a bad client, my malified intention is to keep on proving this astrologer's prediction go wrong. So I have deliberately given this number. Let's see what happens. This is the horary chart for our seed number 168. Let's look at the Cuspal Sub Lord and the planet's movement, whether they are direct or retrograde. So for that, you have to click on any of these options. P is for planet and C is for the cusp. Q is for the quick. So it's kind of a quick view. So let's click on the. Now you see, that's what I was trying to show you. If you look at the 11th Cuspal Sub Lord, you see now Saturn has appeared as the 11th Cuspal Sub Lord. And if you look at the Saturn's movement, you will find that Saturn is retrograde. That's one thing. And Saturn is also in the star of Saturn. That's retrograde. So KP's rule that if the 11th Cuspal Sub Lord is retrograde, so we say, yeah, it is retrograde. And if it is deposited in the star of retrograde, it doesn't matter if it is deposited in its own star. So long the both columns have retrogradation, then KP's rule is fulfilled. So now the outcome of this query, whatever the query is going to be negative. Let's change the date. Let's say August, make it August 15th. We've changed this date. Number remains the same. You can come up with various other numbers. I just gave you one example where 168 number maps to the Saturn appearing as the 11th Cuspal Sub Lord. So now we have changed the date. Now after 15 days, I am again approaching the same astrologer in Bhopal with a different query. And since I have the option to pick up my own number, you must have seen that many clients, they tend to give the same number. I know at least one of my clients, he's a very leading uh, medical practitioner. He always gives me the number 27. I don't know what kind of fixation he has. Seems like he had some great accomplishment when he was 27-year old. Always, in many years I have seen over past many years, he always gives me the number 27. And every time I have to remind him to give a random number. So you can come up with any number where the Saturn becomes the 11th Cuspal Sub Lord. And so long the Saturn remains retrograde and in the star of its own star, Saturn moves slowly, so it's going to be retrograde and remain in that position for quite a few months. So we have changed the date and let's see what happens after 15 days with a new query. Let's look for the a new date and a new query. Now it is 15th of August. Query is something else and the number is same. So now if we look at the Cuspal Sub Lord after 15 days, so you find that it's still the Saturn. And Saturn is still retrograde and in its own star, even after 15 days. So again, the poor astrologer will have to predict a negative outcome. So you see how easily you can exploit the very liberty of selecting a number. That's why the whether it should be a random or a non-random number is a very important aspect in the KP Horary. Now let me explain you that why this happens. As I mentioned, that some elementary basic idea about the computational part of the cusp you should be having. So it's always going to be helpful. So I'll show you why this happens. Let me make a copy of this cusp table. You can just double click and it will make a copy. And let's get rid of the sub Lord column. Okay. Now let's look at the computational part. The first point that you should understand is that in KP Horary, when you give a number, like in our example, we are making use of the number 168. So that number will always give you this particular ascendant. It doesn't make any difference whether you are in any place of the world. The number 168 will always give you the ascendant as this. And based on this, then rest of the other cusps are calculated. So when it is done for Bhopal, then the other cusp will reflect the computational value for the Bhopal. Now these values are not going to change very rapidly. This only changes when the Anansha changes. And it takes a lot of time for the Anansha to change significantly because Anansha itself moves very, very slowly. So for this reason, the number 168 is going to show you the same values days after days after days, weeks, months after months, unless it is impacted by the Anansha. So when you have the same value, then the star lord and sub lord are going to be the same. So this is the the whole computational part, the elementary, that forces the cusp degree for a specific location. This is very important since our astrologer is sitting in Bhopal. And so every time when he computes the value for Bhopal, it's going to be the same. It's not going to change. It will only change over a significant long duration of days, weeks, or even months. So when the sublord are same, then you can uh, make a informed, I would say, guess. Now you know that how to select a number that's going to give you a very a predestined kind of a sublord, and your astrologer will not have a clue, and then he or she will be forced to make a incorrect prediction. Now, if you think about it deeply, then you will realize that the only option to avoid this is to not allow your client or the questionnaire to select a number. Don't say think a number. You have to say you have to let them find a way to generate a random number. When you help them generate a random number, which I'll show you how you can do that very easily on the Jyotish portal, then only you can be sure that this is a non-manipulated number, and this is a truly random number. I'll show you how you can help your client to generate a truly random number. And once you get a random number and you're sure about it, that this is a random number, then I will share some KP yoga, something about that's truly fascinating and mesmerizing about the KP Horary. The true magic of KP Horary starts unfolding. So the for the random number, you have to click on this option. Now here you find this new option that says Horary number generator. When you click on it, then this page is only meant for generating Horary numbers. And let me show you, because see, getting a number, a seed number itself has to be some serious and dignified exercise. Okay. So make it a little formal, give this link to your client, and both of these steps, these are also recommended by Professor Krishnamurti. Pray to your Isht. That means pray to your favorite, to the god or goddess that you like, and then think of the query also. And then they have to select a number. When they click here, then it's going to generate both the numbers. We have given the range for 1 to 249 as well as from 1 to 2193. So these numbers are randomly generated. This is what your client has to copy and paste it in WhatsApp or email or call you on the phone, and they can click here and this is going to copy the number. Okay, so this is a truly random number generator, and this you should pass on this link. So you can share this on your Facebook or WhatsApp, or you can just share this link. And this video is about this particular video that I'm discussing with you about the importance of the random number. I'm going to put the link in the description for you to easily share with your clients. Now let me show you what happens when a random number is generated. Of course, you don't know whether it's random or not, but you believe when you send this link to your client and they send you this number, And then you have this peace of mind that this is a random number. This is not a manipulated number forcing the astrologer to give some incorrect prediction. So now the real magic of the Krishnamurti Horary will start unfolding. And let me share some examples. So I'm sharing a few KP Horary rules that work at the CSL level. You don't have to even go to the Star Lord of the Cuspal Sub Lord. All these rules are only for the KP Horary. Make sure. And let me also take this opportunity to remind you that I don't make use of the Cuspal Sub Lord in the birth horoscope. And I would recommend that not to make use of the Cuspal Sub Lord in the birth horoscope. But in KP Horary, the Cuspal Sub Lord is the real magic. So let's look at this rule. Will I settle abroad? Very popular question. Now, there is one line rule in the KP Horary that if Rahu is the 12th Cuspal Sub Lord, and if it signifies 3, 9 and the 12th house, then that person is going to settle abroad. Okay. Now, with the random number generation, you have this peace of mind that this is not a manipulated Cuspal Sub Lord. So you can immediately apply this rule with confidence. Now let's look at another KP Horary query. Whether the person is lying or not, or if a news is just a rumor, it is true or false, then the KP rule is that if Saturn appears as the third Cuspal Sub Lord of the Horary chart, then this is a false news and that person is lying. Let's look at another rule. So will I ever own a house? This is also a very popular question. And look at just at the fourth CSL stage itself, you can give a very confident answer. So if Rahu or Ketu becomes the fourth Cuspal Sub Lord, then that person will never have a house. He or she might have to live in a rented house. Because Rahu, Ketu, they don't have, their own house. So these are the planets which are houseless. They don't have any houses. So at the fourth CSL itself, you can give the answer in a very black and white yes or no kind of a format. All this is possible with more confidence if you make sure that you get a randomly generated number. Otherwise, like I showed you the example of the 11th Cuspal Sub Lord Saturn, any smart person can figure it out that when Rahu or Ketu are going to become the fourth Cuspal Sub Lord and force you to give a negative answer. Professor Krishnamurti, in some of his interviews and articles, have mentioned that the real power of the Krishnamurti Paddhati is in the Horary astrology. And in many of my videos, I have mentioned the same thing, that if you want to really become very famous and popular, then KP Horary is a very good option for you, where you can you can solve 2 or 3 questions, black and white kind of a thing, and 2 or 3 questions a day over a period of time, 1 year will become like 1,000 questions a year. So that will empower you with a lot of experience. And use the randomly chosen numbers. Always make it a discipline. Never allow the client. See, in the old days, you've had the problem of how to get the random number. Sometimes you would ask the client to open a book. All those are old-fashioned stuff. So now we are in this internet age, and the link that I'm going to share will help you and help your clients also to provide a real randomly chosen number. So do share this video with the KP users or the enthusiasts whom you might be knowing. This is a very good video that will help them to refine their horary KP astrology practice. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thanks for watching.